Howdy, folks. Welcome to Redneck Gone Green. I'm your host, David Cobb. I am the redneck. You bet I've gone green. I'm trying to get you to do it too. And as a reminder on this show, when we say go green, we ain't talking about mere environmentalism. We're talking about deep ecology, the interconnectedness of all of life. And whether you come at that from a deeply spiritual eco-feminist perspective, or you come at that from a linear Western science perspective, or like me, you say those are both perfectly valid ways of understanding the world, I'm here to tell you we doing it wrong. We are literally commodifying and destroying Mother Earth faster than she can replenish herself and creating a racist, sexist, class oppressive world order with the plunder. But luckily, here on Redneck Gone Green, we don't just say, ain't it awful, and describe the problem. We bring you voices and people who are doing something about it. And one of those people is our good friend Shane Knight from over at Democracy at Work. Shane, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, my friend. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Shane. I gotta say, man, like I'm trying to keep a good attitude, but I think we're in World War III right now. Like, I'm not even joking, right? Like, it's not exactly World War III, but we are in like this war, illegal, immoral, unconstitutional war in Iran. Like, it's already regional and it's teetering. And if
Yeah.
you think I'm welcoming you to pull me back, if you feel like I'm being over the top, tell me because I'm kind of mortified right now.
I mean, I am too. And I know a lot of the people that I've been speaking with around New York, but also like the people in our network that we speak to a lot. People are on edge and they have every fucking right to be. It is very scary. And yes, I would say this is already technically World War III because if you
So
look at the
we're
effects
about a
of all of
week
this,
into it. We
yeah,
about a
10
week
days,
into
right?
it, right? We've got over 1,300 folks killed in the first week.
Mm.
The Middle East region is already being drawn into it. Israel has expanded the war into Lebanon and Hezbollah. The Iranian president has said, I'm going to back off the regional attack as more countries get dragged into this conflict. But the Israeli Defense Forces sent a broad scale wave of attack last Saturday, 400 attacks across Tehran and the Western region. Like what we're seeing is now accusations, at least, that Russia may have given Iran intelligence on U.S. positions in the Gulf.
Hmm.
So the whole geopolitical situation is crumbling. This is war is clearly illegal under international law. It's unconstitutional under the U.S. supreme law of the land, and it's uh, fundamentally immoral. So while we're talking now, Shane, like I am here to tell you, I I'll just say it. Donald Trump does not know what he's doing, does not know why he is doing it. This is chaos. That's how
Yeah,
I see it.
it is chaos. And it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. I remember last weekend when we were speaking about this on last Monday's show, actually. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. And I said, you watch next Monday, oil's going to be at $100 a barrel. And it was this morning. And all the folks out, well, they haven't, it hasn't really hit their wallet yet, but it's coming. And that's what
It
I
is.
mean by it's technically a world war because it's affecting everything globally, economically.
Shane, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, again, innocent people are being killed, and that's the first priority. Stop the carnage, stop the mayhem. And the economic impacts have already begun. I don't know if folks caught this, but last Friday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics released their jobs report for February. It already showed a dismal picture of the labor market. Now we've got war, investment uncertainty, AI, replacement concerns, the affordability issues just are continuing to get worse. And get this, in February already, 92,000 jobs were lost, which came as a huge shock for most of the mainstream economists, unlike economist Rick Wolf, who predicted that this was actually coming. Again, shout out to Professor Wolf. Here we are on the Democracy at Work platform that he pioneered. I'm just here to tell you in every sector, what we're seeing is the U.S. economy in crisis. And I'll just say it this way, y'all. It is because the U.S. empire is crumbling, and this effort to try to have a war to hold on to it will ultimately fail. A new world order is coming. My hope is that we can actually dismantle the U.S. empire, dismantle empire everywhere, and get into a new world order based on genuine ecological sustainability and democracy.
Amen. This is when I hit the clap button.
Well, look here, Shay. Thank you for that, because I'm really excited about our guest today. Isaiah Rucker is the founder of Blackout the System, and I don't know about you, like I track a lot of stuff, Shane, and I had never heard of them, right? But then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, it seemed like Blackout the System was everywhere. And the more I looked into it, the more I said, I want Shane and I to have a conversation with this cat, right? Because what I am seeing on Blackout the System is exactly the kind of thing that I think our guests need to hear about, want to hear about. So, with that, I want to bring forward Isaiah Rucker of Blackout the System. Isaiah, welcome to Redneck Gone Green.
Man, thank you for having me.
So look at here. One thing we always do, Isaiah, is to give folks a chance to introduce themselves to our audience according to how they would like to be introduced. So, you and I are both Texas boys, right? And so, I'm going to say, don't be humble right now. I want you for real and for true. How did you come to all of a sudden be in all over my social media feed? Like, tell me what the inspiration for Blackout the System was, but take the time to tell us a little bit about who the heck Isaiah Rucker Jr. is.
Sure. Well, I like to always start with, my Southern heritage, man. I grew up in the South. One of the biggest things that we've learned is just to work hard, really put forth our best effort, whether it's on the football field, basketball court, baseball, diamond, whatever it was, whether we get in our books, education is always put your best foot forward. And so, I think I checked a few boxes along the way. I was actually pipelined into special education growing up, and a lot of people was like, man, that boy is a few words that we don't want to communicate right here, but like they really put me off on the wrong steps. But luckily, sports helped me get into spaces that I normally wouldn't get into because of it. And so I had the opportunity to go to college, messed that up, dropped out about 5 times. So it took me about 18 years to get a college degree, whereas, naturally 4-year, 3-year degrees are made. So I learned a lot along the way, took the hard route, but I took the route. And so over time, I jumped into the retail arena. I started building a lot of experience around, leadership and operations and things of that magnitude. And I got really, really excited about learning the admin work and business in the background. And so I went and got my master's degree in business administration. And so that's where everything kind of sparked for me. I started seeing a lot about businesses in the background and what they do, looking at the environmental responsibilities and things in that magnitude. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. Well, after about 17 plus years supporting leadership in places like Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, Amazon, big box, small box retailers, and just kind of speaking across the world, I'm literally looking at where I'm at and I get booted. I felt like I was in a comfortable place. I felt like I checked all the boxes. I did the right things. And in 2025, I get booted. And I'm sitting on my couch wondering how I'm going to take care of my family, my 2 little girls and my wife. I'm the breadwinner. And so I'm like, man, I got to figure something out. And nothing was coming. I couldn't get a job. And I felt like I was qualified for anything in the area. And so I sat down. My wife was scrolling through social media and we looking at a few different things. It's like, man, things are bad for everybody. It's not just us. And I was like, well, how about I just get on my platform and I scream out into the void and ask if anybody else feeling the same way I'm feeling. And we started to pick up some traction just off of, hey, look, let's take one day and black out the system. We started taking feedback from everyone and they was like, no, we need to do it 2 days. So I was like, let's do 2 days. And it was like, no, we need to do 3 days. So I was like, they was like, let's do 3 days. And they got up to 5 days. And our first wave of Blackout the System was a 5-day stint of economic pushback. And one of the things that really brought us into a place of highlight was because it was all practical things that you could do and everybody could get involved in it, right? It was something that was practical. I could literally implement that in my house today, and all my kids will understand it, and everyone around me in my community understand it. If I just take back my time, if I take back my labor, and I take back my attention. And so those are the three components that we focused on. But it evolved because you can't just dismantle something without building, right? And so as we developed and we brought in people who could support Blackout the System and the influx of people saying, hey, I want to get involved, we started joining with different movements. Our co-founder now, Corey, he had a movement called Take It Back Movement, where we ended up sending stickers across the whole world, not just the United States. We had support from 50 countries and nations across the whole world. And we sent stickers saying, hey, let's black out the system. Not just the people here in the United States. We had support from Canada right off the bat, which was beautiful. I love Canada. And then we started getting support from different countries, from the UK, from Africa, from China, from Australia. We had Scotland, we had Finland, we had places that we would have never known we could connect with, but social media made it possible. And so it penetrated at markets that we wouldn't have thought about. It penetrated communities we never thought about, but everybody had their own message concerning it. And so that's how you saw the wave of Blackout the System. And our biggest objective was just to make people aware first, because awareness is everything. Give people the opportunity to say yes, to pushing back.
So I love it, Isaiah, and I really do appreciate the time that you took to lead up to it. So you really already answered the question that I wanted to ask about the spark that led you to co-found Blackout the System and Revolutionary Blackout. And I will say it makes my heart happy to hear that it was you and your wife together, because everybody who knows me knows I'm crazy for Ruthie. So that landed well for me, right? But I do want to ask you, how do you define the mission and core principles? Because, like, to me, I love how you're breaking it down without dumbing it down, right? So in your own words, what's the mission of Blackout the System?
Blackout the System is a movement of unity across all races, cultures, and classes. And our objective is to bring collective action to push back against a system of oppression and exploitation. And so that's our direct, clear version of our mission statement and our action that we want to take to do it. And we do that pursuing economic pushback.
So, Isaiah, I also loved how you were very clear in describing the mission. You talked about some of the core principles, like you explicitly talk about being multi-ethnic, multiracial, you're cutting across class. I got to say, I find that so refreshing that you have anchored and centered the fact that we have to unite ourselves. And in my language, I'd say we unite the class, the working class, because the predatory class in this capitalist system they got their boot on all our neck, right? and I really just want to lift up again and appreciate how clearly you said that and how gracefully and naturally you said it.
Well, David, I tell you this, one of the biggest things you realize is that those are the same things they use to divide us. So you talk about race, they use that to divide us. You talk about culture. We come from many backgrounds, colors, and creeds, right? Everything. And they'll use all those small nuances to divide us. Talk about our class, and class just doesn't talk about our money. It talks about where we stay. It talks about the type of things that we can acquire: homes, houses, cars, all these different things. And so when we see those things being leveraged against us, we said, hey, look, we got to break those walls down. And when we hosted lives on TikTok and Instagram and things like that, it was something that really drew people in, because it was like, yeah, man, I'm feeling we're under the same umbrella. Everybody's gas prices are going up. We're seeing that everybody have an elderly friend or family that has Social Security that's being attacked. Our veteran loved ones, their benefits being attacked. Food benefits have been attacked. Our children, schools are being defunded. We've seen we all knew somebody or were that somebody that was experiencing those things. And so we was like, we're under the same umbrella, but they're using the things that are unique to us to divide us. And so I tell people this all the time, David, your uniqueness is the volume of your value. So all your race, your culture, your class, whatever you got, that's a value added to community, and we have to honor that.
I love that so much.
Right on.
So true.
I knew Isaiah was going to get to you.
Yeah, well, in this system, it's all focused on individuality, but also conformity based on the capitalistic system. Everybody has to fit into a certain siphon or the other so they can market one thing or the other to everyone and keep us all divided. And I love this whole just be yourself and bring everybody together. I think it's going to have a lot more traction than what you've been able to get so far, because the message is accurate as hell.
Folks, you're listening and are watching Redneck Gone Green. I'm your host, David Cobb. We got co-host Shane Knight with us, and our guest today is Isaiah Rucker Jr. He is the founder of Revolutionary Blackout, or Blackout the System. He has joined forces now with another group. And I want to ask you, Isaiah, to talk a little bit about how you and Corey got to know each other and how y'all came together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm always proud to present Corey, man. I tell you, David, I always try to throw Corey in there because Corey brought such a beautiful environment into Blackout the System. Even though we were doing some great things, when Corey came in, we were doing it live. And I was on live. I think I was doing a Blackout live, which normally took place on Fridays during that time. And we'll do it all Friday. Talking about either 12 hours or 24 hours. And we'll be live that whole time, just encouraging people to take back their time, drive a wedge between their resources and this government, all these different things. And Corey was like, hey, man, can I jump on live? Just in the chat.
I think we're having a bit of technical difficulty here.
Oh heck, man, I was on the edge of my seat, Shane. I don't know about you.
I was too.
Isaiah, let's give it a shot and see if your internet connection is able to get back with us. How about now? Well, I can see the man, but I'm not hearing him. Shane, how about you?
I can see him, but I can't hear him either. Isaiah, if you can hear us.
Can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear us at least?
Yeah, we may have to either text him and tell him to log out and log back in, because I don't think he has a chat either.
No.
There we go.
I'm going to do that. Folks, I apologize, or we collectively apologize here. I don't know. I often joke in moments like this. I'm not sure if it's just normal technical glitches or if it's the FBI recording equipment malfunctioning, or hell, it could be the fact that somebody like Isaiah Rucker Jr. Talking the way he talks about bringing everybody together. And I ain't even joking, y'all. One thing that the system fears more than anything else is when white crackers like me and Shane end up in conversations with black men or black people like Isaiah, and finding common ground and talking about how we need to unite and fight. That is what scares the system, absolutely. And you don't like my music just dropped in a chat. Racial unity is what they always feared the most. I'll say this, Shane. One thing about Empire is, at the end of the day, like, divide and conquer is their main play, and they run it all the time. And at the end of the day, in this current moment in history, there are way more of us than there are of them. If we were able to actually get to where Isaiah is trying to take us with the Blackout the System, we will win. It's just that simple.
I
Isaiah,
agree.
you back with us, brother?
Yeah, sorry about that. Looked like I had a disruption in my connection here.
All good. So looky here. You were telling us about Corey, and you were on a roll. Shane and I were just on the edge of our seats. So I just want to remind you, you were telling us about how Corey came on live with you, and
yeah, so he jumped on the live, and when he jumped on the live, he said, "Hey, you mind if I share something with you?" And I was like, "Man, lay into it, Corey." And he communicated this most articulate and very like heart provoking. Like it pulled you right out of the screen. You're like, man, hold on, man. His voice was clear. It was beautiful. He laid it out very well. And I was like, Corey, man, you want to jump back on sometime with us? And we shared information on there. And he was like, man, I'm just stopping in. And I guess he was doing this with multiple groups. And so we ended up having a back end conversation, and we started working together. So right at conception of Blackout the System, we're right there working in the background. We're working in tandem, but haven't necessarily joined hands yet. And so after the first wave of Blackout the System, he had some new ideas. Corey was the one who really made sure that we pushed out those stickers across the nation, across the world. We penetrated a whole lot of people. We was just sticking stickers in high traffic areas, right? Bathroom stalls. It was at bus stations and things like that, so people can get their eye on it. Had a QR code. He did all of that stuff to make sure the blackout message got out there. And so we wouldn't even be at the level we are now without Corey. And so we had a conversation after the first wave, and I was like, "Hey, Corey, man, what do you think about partnering with me and moving forward?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, we can do it." And he was like, "I'll dissolve my movement." I was like, "You don't have to do that. I just need some support, man, and see where we can take this." And he ended up saying, "Hey, look, it doesn't matter. We're doing the same thing. We're working in the same direction. The name doesn't matter. As long as we get these things done." And it looks like Blackout the System is something that people are really attracted to. So we leaned hard on it. And here we are today. Corey, he mans our community building space. I kind of manned a lot of the economic pushback space, and we love the balance.
Well, I love it. So looky here. I'm going to ask you, Isaiah, both I want to ask both what your proudest victory is and what made it possible. But I also, just to let you know, the next question is going to be about any failure or setback that you experienced and what it taught you. But I do want to start with, in your mind, what's the proudest victory that y'all have had so far in Blackout the System, and what made that victory possible?
I think the proudest victory is our ability to reach the masses so swiftly, and just really sharing a message of unity in that regard. Because naturally, you know that when you're talking about the good things, it seems it doesn't permeate the internet very well. And so we naturally get stuck in a space of rudder and trying to just fight and swim through the headwind. But we were able to do this simply because everybody owned Blackout the System themselves. And that's one of the things that we always tell people. Look, we're a conduit. We don't want to take ownership of everybody's movement. We're not trying to own the process. What we're trying to do is connect people to resources to help them offload from a system that's exploiting them. And so when people started to take the videos or the scripts and saying, "Hey, look, I'm Blackout the System. I'm Blackout the System," we started seeing that grow, and people wanted to know where it originated. So they came back to us, and we kept sharing information and giving them tools to be able to continue to penetrate in their neighborhoods to support movements just like this. And so I think our biggest win was just knocking down those barriers for so many others, and getting that awareness out to the masses so we can have this conversation that we're having today, David.
Well, Isaiah, I love this too, because one of the things that I do gently correct people sometimes whenever they're describing their challenges. They'll say, the healthcare system is broken, or the or media consolidation, and the system is broken. I say, no, y'all. You're describing accurately what your experience is, but the system is not broken because it's working exactly as it is designed. The capitalist white supremacist system is designed to divide us. It's designed to extract the surplus value of the labor of the worker. It is designed to be a power over dominator extractive system. The problem is the system, right? The system is designed improperly. Now, here's the thing. I believe that 95% of the people that are out there, like, regardless of what political party they're in, regardless of how they are actually showing up in the world, I don't reckon that most of them are evildoers, Isaiah. I think that people are confused. I think people have been lied to. I think people have a narrative in their head about who the other is. The thing about you that really drew my attention first, and I started to pay it more and more attention, is I realized you were not the traditional educated leftist, that you were cutting through that and just talking from your heart about, hey, this ain't right. The world that, and I'll just say for me, like, that my mama and my papa taught me about, like, it's not working the way it's supposed to, or the way I thought it was. I would say this, Isaiah. I really do believe that you are a classic Gramscian organic intellectual. That is somebody who, by paying attention to ordinary life, have drawn deep and accurate conclusions about how the system is organized and trying to do something about it. So this, for me, when I call you an organic intellectual, I just want to let you know, in my world, that's about the highest compliment I can pay a person.
Well, I tell you what, my biggest compliment is this big smile on my face, and I tell you, I strongly support and I appreciate everything that you're saying. The system is rigged, and it's designed that way. And if we haven't understood it, we are naturally plugged into that system from a very young age, and we have to find ways to really pry ourselves from it. Luckily for me, and I say luckily, but I was disrupted. Like I was bought in. I was in the system until I was terminated. And when I was terminated, it gave me a realization. And all those red alerts that popped up along the way in life, I can look back with hindsight 2020 and like, man, it told me there. I seen it there. I seen it there. And so, I'm happy to be able to be in a position to share this message, but I'm more so excited about the people who are coming along the way and seeing, hey, look, you know what? This is messed up. This is not how it's supposed to be. And so we're fighting together. We're pushing back together. And that's one of the most, I guess, rewarding things that I get to experience is so many people connecting together, and I get to work with them. It's like, yeah, your wisdom, your knowledge. I don't have all that information, but whatever you have, man, I'm leaning on it, and I need
As
you.
my mama taught me, we all better together, Isaiah. We all
That's right.
better together. So I remember I told you right up front, I was also going to ask you about a failure or setback. So I want to ask you a failure or setback that taught you the most.
Tough conversation, but it is it's the truth. With our leadership with Blackout the System, one of the first things, and I talk about Blackout the System first, but with our leadership with Blackout the System, one of the first things is you got to understand you're bringing in so many different viewpoints in one place, and that alone, if not mitigated very well, if there's no structure for it or behind it, and excitement is just the first thing that brought you together, and there was no infrastructure built, it can really dissolve really quick. And we found ourselves in a position where we were fighting for infrastructure because we grew so fast. We were trying to backpedal to get infrastructure in place. And so one that I would say that was really our biggest failure. But I tell you what, like the reestablishment when I connected with Corey and we started building things out. I had some other people in the background who was extremely valuable to the process. The website was redesigned. We built up systems in the background to help catch people instead of having them fall through the cracks. We built a community, what I like to call a community web, where it helps catch people who want to take action. And so those kind of things I learned, and that's the value behind it, because you don't want people to be excited and ready to do something and you don't have an avenue for them to move and act on it. And so we was like, that's a problem. And our leadership was just excited, and we was trying to plug in different things, but we wanted to make sure we maintain a very clear goal. And when we did that, we seen some pinpoint accuracy in our actions. And so I would say that was the toughest thing, because you build relationships fast, and nobody that was on the leadership prior to were bad people. It was just, it didn't help things go forward at that time. And we ended up going back and talking to them. Hey, could you start building in this space and that space? And so it's a beautiful thing that, when people's hearts are really kindred and they want to see a change, that we're not taking anything personally in that regard. When we're looking to really push back, we're looking at everything that we can do. And so I get phone calls all the time about, hey, can we work on this? I know it didn't work out for this. Can we work on that? And when we have those avenues, and just for them to know that I'm that type of person, that I'm not holding a grudge against them, was just beautiful as well. So those were real learning moments for me.
Well, Isaiah, thank you for having the courage to take that head on and talk about it the way you did. And I want to say that in my training, we would call that principled struggle, like the willingness to have hard conversations without being ugly. I do like to try. I'm not saying I succeed all the time, but my aspiration is to go hard on systems and soft on people, to offer grace and compassion, because everybody makes mistakes. I make them all the time. I'll ask the same grace and compassion out of others. I try not to take things personally whenever things come up, because you never know what individuals are dealing with in their lives. But I know this: we are in a crisis moment, and we need to come together best we can. And to that end, I'm going to ask you, what tactics have you found to be most effective for building power, especially in communities that are often ignored?
So for building power, I would say community. That's the biggest thing. Being able to develop community right there where you are. I know a lot of people don't have too much trust in the system, but one of the biggest things we like to promote in the local area is to get involved in local voting processes. Right? Take back the school administration, take back the city council, take back those things that seem to have eroded over time or literally been infiltrated through money systems and things of that magnitude. Take a lot of those things back. Of course, that's not the end, but the objective is to acquire that power back. So first of all, it's always community. We focus on community, developing community, creating third spaces where people can get educated and understand what they can do to pull back the tactics.
So before you go any further, for folks who may not be familiar with the term, third spaces. Tell us what a third space is and why that's so important.
So
Glad you asked.
everything that we naturally do with Blackout the System is online, right? And it's great that we can reach so many people and share a message with so many people, but it's nothing like being able to come together, have that social exchange with your community and the people who desire to see the same things you desire in your community. And so when we talk about third spaces, we're talking about maybe a library, and we take that library and say, hey, look, we're going to host a meeting at this library. Yeah, they have city council meetings, right? Well, what's stopping us from having a council meeting for our community right here in this space? We're talking about recreation centers and things in that magnitude. Wherever you can find where people can come together and you can host a space where individuals can learn, get equipped with skill sharing, things like that. We also, we started something called the Citizens Assembly every Sunday. And every Sunday people come in online and we talk about different things that we can do. And then we also encourage them into action to create a third space right there where they are, because objectively it's cool to share information online, but it's beautiful to see people executing it right there where they are. And so our objective is always there.
I love that. I often say, man, like this Redneck Gone Green or any other online presence is very good for broadcasting stuff out, but and you can go far and wide. But if you want to go deep, do it where you live, work, play, and pray. At the local level is where we're going to have real relationships and build community. To be clear, an online community is still a community, but in the physical space where you can see each other, touch each other, like that's where it's at as far as I'm concerned. I do want to circle back because you've touched on this, but I want to really lift up. How do you at Blackout the System balance the kind of radical action with long-term movement sustainability? Because this is a marathon; it ain't a sprint.
Yeah,
Isaiah.
absolutely. It's a dual movement. We do economic pushback and we do community building, and they run simultaneously. I myself, I naturally push the economic pressure. It's called the pressure campaign that I work with. Anybody who's really into driving a wedge between our resources, which are our labor, our money, our time, all those different things, and the federal government, state governments, whatever it is that we need to sever and really find our independence as a community from. And then we have Corey, who supports and build the community building space. The community building space in our Discord, we have all 50 states listed. If you joined our Discord, you can go to your state, and there's 4 pillars that a lot of people are able to join. One is the pressure campaign, one is the community builder space, and then we have others where content creation and things like that take place. And people can go into those spaces in their state, connect with people right there in their state, galvanize community right there in there, and start building out. So when we talk about building out third spaces, there's individuals in the Discord doing it all by themselves, and we're just a conduit for it. And I'm excited about that, because when you see people come back and say, hey, we did this, and these are the outcomes, you know that things are working. And that's where we are now. So we're working in that space and building the mutual aids and so many other different things that takes place in the community building. But the web that takes place, the ideal is to build a system that rivals this rig system. This is a monstrous system. And what we want to do is build a system that rivals it.
Quick question.
Go
Sorry to
ahead,
jump
Shane.
in, David. I'm curious to know if if you work with other organizations that already have things like community wealth building set up, but also like food insecurity programs and all that. How are you working to grow, I guess, that network? Or I mean, because you've got all the tools in place to do all of it, and it's very exciting to see. And I'm just curious how you're expanding out the network, if at all.
Yeah, so we work with anyone who's willing to work with us.
Awesome.
Again, our objective is to be a conduit. We have a lot of momentum. And so what we want to do is make sure that the people and the need are connected. And so we're not trying to recreate all these things. There's people who has more knowledge in those spaces than we do, and we recognize that. And so what we try to do is make those partnerships. Corey, he's always in the background having conversations, and we have a group of leaders who's having conversations. We run across somebody's page on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we reach out to them like, hey, love what you're doing. You know, can we set up a call or something? Because we know that the value that people possess is much further than what we have by ourselves. So when we bring that together, we want to build a community hub. That's what it really want to turn it into.
So a couple of things, Isaiah, I want to make sure. First and foremost, Shane and I and a whole host of other people are part of a growing network called Resist and Build. Resist the bad system, build the new one. Sometimes it's called Build and Fight. So this is a public and very personal invitation to you. I want to get you and Blackout the System. We're going to be convening in person in the fall with leaders like yourself and people from across the country. So you're going to get an invitation from me to that. The second thing that I wanted to say, to just name and lift up, you really got on my radar during the economic blackout protest around the harvest holidays, November 25 through December 2nd. So I want you to talk a little bit about the Blackout the System coordinated national blackout that you did as an example, because again, I track a lot of different stuff, Isaiah. I'm gonna be for real. Like that, all of a sudden, y'all seem to be everywhere. So I want to figure out, how did that happen? How did that idea come about? Like, I want to do a deep dive. I want you to do a deep dive on that coordinated national blackout, November 25 through December 2nd. What it was, what you learned.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, first of all, after the first wave of Blackout the System, we saw an increase of awareness. And awareness, we started with 0 people, and we ended up with over 100,000 followers on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and things of that magnitude. And we're almost 1 million followers across multiple platforms now. But one of the biggest things we saw was awareness. And so when you start with 0 and then you have another wave that you're planning and you start with 100,000, it looks completely different. And so we announced at the end of our first wave of Blackout the System that we were going to have a second wave, and it was going to be during that time. That time was a very strategic time, and I'll tell you a little bit about it here shortly. But first of all, we wanted to share that message with everybody. And we started seeing people gathering information from our website and making their own flyers. And we was like, that's beautiful. We loved it, right? Because we're not trying to get any notoriety. We're just trying to make sure the work get done. And so when we start seeing that penetrate different communities and more people taking ownership of it, we weren't like, oh, I did that, we did that. We was like, let's go. And I'm sharing it and all this other wonderful stuff. So a couple organizations reached out to us. And what it was termed, everybody saw mass blackout. That's what they saw, mass blackout, mass blackout. And so a couple organizations reached out to us, and one was the Progressive Network, and they was like, hey, join us real quick on a call. And the People Sick Day was part of that conversation, and a couple other groups. And we sat down and we started talking, and it was like, man, this is pretty cool. How about we all join forces, and let's clean this communication up a little bit. Let's get a logo for it. The MB is what most people saw after a while. Let's get a logo for it, and let's literally brand this whole coalition. And so we connected with organizations like various organizations, I would say various chapters from 5051, various chapters from Indivisible. We connected with What was it? It was money out of politics. There were so many different groups and organizations that we connected with. And forgive me if I missed. I'm pretty sure I missed like so many. It was over 100 organizations that was in part of that coalition when we ended up launching this thing. And we was in a real good space, right? And we were communicating all these different things. And so we was like, hey, well, let's just go ahead and shoot this out. We started getting news articles across the nation. We started getting invites to podcasts and all these different things. And that's what we expected, right? That's what we wanted to. Just more people to know about it, give them the opportunity to say yes. And so when we sat down, we started talking about different things that we could do and looking forward and what that would look like. And so during that time, that November blackout, we focused on the economic spending. We understood that that was a high spending time frame for the American people. And I worked in retail for over 17 years. I know what that means for a lot of these companies. Just on this part of the year, it makes or break their scorecards. And so we wanted to make sure that we made a difference, made an impact. And of course, a lot of people would say that there was a lot of influx in spending, but no, you actually got robbed. They increased the prices, so it would look like more spending, but less people actually spent money during those times. And so we was very strategic about really pinpointing that space. And we wanted people to understand that we're not trying to take away Thanksgiving and we're not trying to take away Christmas. In fact, we're trying to bring it back. We're trying to bring back that time with your family. We're trying to bring back those exchanges in the workplace. We're trying to bring back that communal aspect of life. And we've been caught and captivated by spending. And so that spending culture that we've had, we started making sure that we communicated reasons and purposes why we're doing this, why we're driving the wedge. We know that these corporations are backing these politicians. These politicians are bought. And because they're bought, they're making policies for corporations instead of their constituents. And so we're like, hey, let's go to the source of this thing. Of course, we want to dismantle this whole system, this ruling and reigning and operating, but we also understand what's funding it. And so we went straight to the source. We hit it right at the ankles, and people felt good about some of those outcomes. And so one of the things that Blackout the System love to do is just continue to give people flexible things that they can do. If you could boycott. If you can strike. If you can stop spending in certain particular areas, stop spending. If you can cancel subscriptions, cancel those subscriptions. Whatever you could do, we was asking people to do that.
And so I just want to stop you for a minute because I want to underscore for listeners and our viewers of Redneck Gone Green. Look at the twofold way that Isaiah is outlining this, organizing strategic but coordinated boycotts, strikes, ways to divest our labor and our dollars and our support from this system, right? And building, connecting, and strengthening parallel community-based systems, the kind of mutual aid and dual power approaches for food, healthcare, et cetera. The thing is, Isaiah, like you have, again, very naturally described the Resist and Build network that Shane and I and hundreds of others are getting involved with. I reckon that we must be on to something because you and I never met before, and we're literally talking about the same thing. And I don't think we're alone.
No, absolutely.
No, I don't think so either. I tell you what, though, I'd like to see next year, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but let's go after Valentine's Day, because isn't that really a capitalist holiday? It's great to love your loved one. It's great to celebrate it. I think we should do it all year round. Yes,
I'm on board.
Exactly.
Like, yes to the spirit of it, but let's pledge we ain't spending no money in corporate America.
Yeah,
on our
a homemade card says a lot more than Hallmark ever could.
Yeah, and what I would suggest, because that can happen across the whole year, right? If we get very intentional about supporting our small businesses and our small businesses supporting our community, that exchange alone allows the disruption that we need. If we just focus in on taking care of our small businesses and our small businesses taking care of the community, it gives us a whole structure to be sustained, to step away from the system and unplug. And so that whether that's Christmas, right? Whether that's Thanksgiving, whether that's Valentine's Day, even throughout New Year's, all these different things. We have the power in our hands, and we always had it.
Yep.
And you know what really gets me too is these sort of capitalized or capitalism have taken ceremony, sacred ceremony that humans have done since time immemorial, and then figured out ways to commodify it and sell it to us, right? And it's like the ceremony is what's sacred, like, and they have actually, in my opinion, bastardized it. They have taken what is noble and good and sacred and turned it into something actually pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And I think we're just trying to reclaim our humanity whenever I listen to you, Isaiah.
No, I'm in agreement. I tell people this all the time. If I can see you, then I can look for your best interest. If we can stop looking at everything else and start seeing the people in front of us, behind us, or to our left and right, then we can start paying attention to their needs. I'm moving so fast in this world now that I don't see the person that's on the corner that needs food or clothing. I'm moving so fast that I don't see that person that's their car broke down. I remember stopping, picking people up and driving them to the next town. I remember people helping out when somebody had a flat, now people have to sit there and wait on AAA, it's a different thing, and they have to pay for it. So the natural thing that we used to do is in humanity and as a social beings, it's being ripped away from us.
And you know what's really funny is looky here. Every time there is any kind of crisis, a natural disaster, like Shane and I come from hurricane country, along the Gulf Coast, right? And especially in rural Texas. I'm just going here to tell you, like, afterwards, we all immediately came together, checked on one another. What do you need? And there was no question of what party registration are you from? Like, what color are you? Like, it was like human beings naturally, like for almost all of us, when we're in a crisis moment, we come together and do the best we can. And I'm going to say this, Isaiah, I don't reckon that human beings are fundamentally angelic. I don't reckon that human beings are fundamentally demonic. I think that most of us normally basically do what we're incentivized to do. And the problem is that this system is incentivizing the wrong things. They are giving us incentives to extract, to exploit, to oppress. And I think that by doing the economic pushback and creating the new systems, when we do that in tandem and give people just a small incentive to do what they naturally want to do which is love on each other and take care of one another. Like, I think the new world is right within our grasp. I really do. Like, and when you think about the technology, look at, man, like, I'm 63 years old, Isaiah. If you would have told me in my youth that I would be able to be on this thing called a computer, and there'd be this thing called the internet, and there'd be these things called podcast and videocast, and I'd be having a conversation with you with thousands of people listening, I'd have thought you were crazy. That wouldn't have made any sense at all. The technology is here. If we democratize it, man, we could be living in paradise.
Yeah, absolutely. And we grew up through all these changes, right? So we get to remember all those wonderful times where we could ride on the back of trucks, where we could be out with our feet in the grass, and our kids and friends and family just running through the neighborhood. Now we have to make sure that everybody's watching everything, because we don't know what's going to happen. Everything has been incentivized. Everything has a dollar sign connected to it.
That's right.
And it has caused us to rift as a community. And so I love everything that you said, because once we strip that away, right? Once we strip that away and give people other options, we have leverage. And that's what people need.
100%. So looky here, like we got about 10 minutes left, Isaiah. So I want to make sure to catch a couple of comments from you. First, like, since you are clearly a catalyst and an instigator of Blackout the System, what role do you see for Blackout the System in the next 3 to 5 years?
In the next 3 to 5 years, I would like to see that we're fully connected with other organizations and communities, really bringing together the resources, bringing the resources to the people. Objectively, we want to sever our connection to the federal government and how it exploits us, connection to a lot of these organizations that exploit us and support our local businesses. But I want us to be that conduit to the people. They can come to the website, to citizens assemblies, to third spaces, and they can get the things that they need, and they can move forward by supporting in that capacity. Whether you already got some of the things that you need, maybe you are the resource. You know, we're looking for people who are the resources and people who need the resources, and we're bringing them together so we don't have to so much depend on a system that will use that against you.
That is fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about the citizens assemblies and how people can connect with them.
So Citizens Assembly, we have one online Citizens Assembly, and what we do is encourage others to create and cultivate their own Citizens Assemblies in their communities. That Citizens Assembly takes place every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can go to the website, sign up for it, and we'll start sending you the information. You can click on the link, join us anytime during that time, and you'll see people sharing about maybe it's community gardens that we're trying to skill share that day. We'll go through a list of the things that we have going on, some of the actions that you can take. We'll talk about some divestment plans. We'll bring in special guests. It's just so many different things that can happen in that space, but we want people to create that same space. So we do that on Sundays, and we want others to be able to replicate that in a third space in person. And we try to help build them by giving them resources in that magnitude.
Well, I don't want to come off as being too immodest, Isaiah, but I'm just here to tell you, with enough time, if you extend an invitation to me on a Sunday, I'd come, and I'd love to share with folks a little bit about what we've learned at People's Network for Land and Liberation and the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network. So that's a shameless request on my part.
No, hey, look, we would love it. We would love it. That's what we're here for, right? People don't know what they need all the time until sometimes it's presented. I tell people this all the time. My ignorance kept me in a lot of places. And
I got to say, my mama taught me this phrase. You're going to love it. Ain't nobody, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right. That's right. You don't know what you don't know. And I was confined by my ignorance. But when people started sharing information and I started searching for information, I started seeing different choices. And so some of us, we think we don't have any choices. And what Blackout the System does is try to give people those choices.
So Isaiah, let me, I told you we're running out of time, but I do want to ask, what do you think is the role for younger people and new organizers in helping to shape the vision for where you see Blackout the System be in the next 3 to 5 years?
They're everything. They're everything. And we believe that our younger generation, as detached that they may be sometimes, are the catalyst to what our system is going to look like. If you look at the conversations that our younger generation they're having, it's amazing to see some of the ideas that they're really starting to build up on, right? And so what we're trying to do is get more of our younger groups in, because what I've learned is the older people teach the younger people teach the older people, and we all can work together. But if we say we know everything, and it'll repel them, and if they say we know everything, it'll repel us. And so just leaving that avenue open for learning is going to really help us. And so we're doing our best to learn from the younger people. The reason why I'm able to get on this app right now is because I learned from someone that was younger than me. And so they're connecting us to the world, and we want to give them some insight on how it's going to look moving forward.
Right on, right on. So looky here, for listeners, viewers that are ready to step in, what's a very concrete thing that they can do to support the work or participate in Blackout the System?
Many people are probably already participating in Blackout the System. And that's one of the draws that I always tell people, is that if you're already pushing back, you're already using your voice, you're participating in Blackout the System. If you're not spending with certain corporations, you're already participating in Blackout the System. If you're canceling your subscriptions, you're already participating in Blackout the System. If you want to get involved with Blackout the System, then I would say start building and creating community spaces right there where you are. That's our biggest focus. Even right now, we're working in the background to build a Hands Across America 2.0 because we want the people to understand that holding hands is powerful. Even symbolically, it's powerful. And there's people that's homeless and hungry out there, and we need to be able to see the people that's out there on the streets. We have the capability of eradicating some of those things in our country, and we want to focus on the people.
Right on. So looky here. If you could leave our audience here, Shane, for Redneck Gone Green, with a message about building community power and fighting systemic oppression, what would that one message be?
Many people do not know that they can do everything necessary for their own communities, but it doesn't happen by a single leader. It happens when everyone works together. My resource, my knowledge, your knowledge, the exchange and inner exchanges of all those different things create the stronghold that allows us to continue to push back. And so, for each and every person that may be listening in, you already have the power. You just need to be activated. And so, take action because action breeds action.
Right on. I'm loving it. So looky here. A couple of things that I always like to ask somebody like you. What is it that you're either reading? What podcast are you listening to? What person? What's inspiring you right now?
So I'm always rereading certain books. One of the biggest books that I read all the time is No Excuses, and that book kind of leaves me in a space where I don't get to back out on the people. I don't get to say things are too tough for me because a situation or circumstance has landed in my lap. I get to stand up and I look and I get to find ways to make things happen. And I would encourage people to continue to read different books that give you different perspective, insight, and imagination. To be honest, I'm gonna share this really quick, David. I wrote a book, and
Oh, please.
one of the books wrote was it's called the RIP Method. It's RIPP, and it's an acronym that stands for routines, information, people, and places. And another acronym for it is reach incredible peaks practically. And what I try to do, and this is what I always try to do, is tell people if you want to do something, build a routine for it. Gather the proper information. Make sure you connect with the right people and get into the right places. And that's how you develop and galvanize a strong community. Routine, information, people, places, and continue to look at that every single day.
Well, I'm going to tell you somebody that I hold in high esteem and regard has really pushed me to really think about coaching culture, especially in the movement. So I'm going to say you are a natural coach, right? Like, and as somebody who came up playing baseball as a little boy, right? Like, you are a natural coach. I really appreciate, Isaiah, this conversation. Shane, any final thoughts that you want to share before we close this out?
I just want to say thank you, Isaiah, for all of this. I love your enthusiasm. I'm flabbergasted to actually put a face with the movement and to have had this conversation because in New York City, people know Blackout, and there are a lot of people that have asked me about it. And now I can actually point them to where to go. So thank you. And as far as everything else is concerned, thank all the viewers and listeners out there. I hope everyone's well.
Isaiah, I want to give you the same opportunity for any final thoughts before I close this out.
Okay, well, I'll just say this, and I quote my coach. He reached out to me today, and I'll say this: it's the little things that count, and the big things that follow through. And my coach always told me that every day. Y'all, it doesn't have to be something grand. You can do small things every single day to see change. And if you're willing to do some small things, you'll realize how big those things can change your situation and circumstances. So I appreciate each and every one of you all. Thank you, David, for having me. Shane, wonderful, pleasant meeting you as well. I hope I get a chance to get out there to New York sometime and see some people that's been involved with Blackout the System.
I
We'll try
love
to
it.
make that happen.
No, nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something, right? So,
That's right.
folks, remember here on Redneck Gone Green, this community is getting larger, stronger, and better organized every week, and that's because people like you are participating. This chat was on fire today, Isaiah. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank Shane Knight, the co-host, and basically the person who's the chief cook and bottle washer to keep the Democracy at Work platform going. Thanks to everybody over at Democracy at Work, Rick Wolf and Harriet and Jason, the whole crew over there that makes this so fun. Of course, I got to thank Ruthie Engelke, who is the executive producer and my partner, who makes this go. But most importantly, for real, y'all, I want to thank you, the viewer, the listener, who are taking the time and energy out of your life to to participate in this community because we are growing. And I'm going to end by asking you, for real, please participate. Participate in social media, participate in your life. There are far more of us than there are of them. Join us next week. We're going to talk to Professor Stephen Zunis, who's a international expert. We are going to go deep dive on U.S. foreign policy. Until then, keep on keeping on. Can't stop, won't stop. Peace.